Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene News here, and today we've got some breaking updates today. So first, we're going to go to the US statement. And probably everyone here knows there's been a massive rumour that's been spreading on various social media networks around the world. So the big rumour is that apparently the President of the United States has apparently died. So this rumour comes with the fact, if you can see here in your bottom left corner, the Capitol building of the US. So the US flag was lowered to halfway, meaning that someone has died or something bad's happened in the US. So the social networks have already linked this to the fact that Joe Biden has died. I'll note again that Joe Biden hasn't been seen for a week, and pretty interesting news. This could be the fact that he did state that he had COVID and he was just quarantining and just staying out of people's way. So very interesting. And if you can hear, if you see this video, it's about 30 seconds long. Just give it a watch.
It is so good to hear our president's voice. Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking every day. You guys heard it from Doug's voice. We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us. And everybody here does.
It's mutual.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid. I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe.
In that clip, you can clearly hear Joe Biden in the background, but again, the counter statement is that you could easily make a Joe Biden voice. So, very interesting, but the Israeli president did land in the United States and should be probably meeting Joe Biden. So, we'll see if he's alive or not if he meets President of Israel, Netanyahu. So, now we've gotten news coming from the Pentagon. So, the Pentagon has updated its Arctic strategy. So, they have stated that the region is turning into a platform for strategic competition, and the United States, together with its allies, must be ready to meet this challenge together. The US will conduct more military exercises in the Arctic, both on its own and with its allies. The US will work with allies, industry companies, and local tribes to strengthen its position in the Arctic. And the US will increase investments in intelligence and technology to better understand the operation environment in the Arctic. So the Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin said this in May, that the United States is an Arctic country. So the Russian President Vladimir Putin called the development of the Arctic a priority, since the region is important for defense and logistics and energy. So very interesting that's happening. So we're getting like a little Cold War situation happening in the Arctic. So very interesting. Now we've got news coming from Great Britain that the Ukraine can now use British Storm Shadow missiles inside of Russia, the new UK Defence Secretary says. But there will be a limit on this. So, as with all of the missiles, there's a limit. So these Storm Shadow missiles probably are not allowed to strike the far east in Russia, so very far in Russia. So it'll probably only be allowed to hit maybe 400 kilometers into Russia. So it'll probably only be able to hit maybe Belgrade region, maybe only Moscow, maybe 600 kilometers. But it's very interesting, so I'll make sure to keep you updated on that. And big news coming from the UK too is the ambassador of Ukraine to Great Britain, Zaluzhia, has held his first international meeting at the diplomatic post at the Embassy of Ukraine in Great Britain. So I can never say his name right. Zaluzhia, the former chief in command of Ukraine, of the army, is now a diplomat in the UK. So first this was rumours, now it seems to be confirmed that he is the diplomat from Ukraine to Britain. So very interesting news. The next news is coming from Poland. So the Polish foreign minister is stated that, I quote, "Protecting children cancer hospitals is not an escalation. Ukraine should be allowed to use Western weapons to strike Russian airfields," stated the Polish foreign minister. So, following a meeting in the UN Council. So, Britain has apparently taken this advice and now has allowed Ukraine to hit Russia with these Storm Shadow missiles. So, we could probably expect more countries to do that around the world. Maybe France next, and maybe Germany, and then Poland, then other countries. That's not the only news coming from Poland. So, coming from northern Poland, the authorities of this city in the northwest Poland has demolished yet another monument to the Soviet Polish Brotherhood in arms. So, a lot of post-Soviet countries and post-satellites of the Soviet Union have been knocking down these Soviet statues. So, Poland has already knocked down 420 Soviet monuments outside of burial sites and has been liquidated in Poland. So, a lot of post Soviet monuments are being destroyed in Poland, like this one. So, this one was the Soviet Polish Brotherhood in arms. So, the monument was erected on the November 7th, 1972, on the 55th anniversary of the Great October Revolution. If you can see here, you can see the statue go down and it collapses and breaks. So I'll make sure to keep you updated on these situations. The next news is coming from Latvia, that apparently Latvia has begun to install anti-tank barriers, so-called the Dragon Teeths. So these are anti-tank fortifications that are apparently being placed on the Russian-Latvian border. Now we get news coming from the foreign minister in Hungary. So Hungary and Slovakia requested consolations from the European Commission due to Kiev's suspension on the transit of Russian oil. So this was stated by the Hungarian foreign minister, Peter. He added that the Budapest has considered Kiev's decision hostile given Ukraine's import of electricity from Hungary. So I've talked about this yesterday, but I'll just touch on it really quickly today. So there's a pipeline going through Russia to Belarus to Ukraine that's feeding Slovakia and Hungary Russian oil. So the company Lukoil. So Ukraine actually kind of blocked this pipeline and sanctioned it. So now Hungary and Slovakia are complaining about this. And then Hungary just stated then that the Hungarian foreign minister, he stated that he added that Budapest is considering Kiev's decision hostile, given Ukraine's import of electricity from Hungary. Sorry again, but if you didn't know, Hungary has been giving Ukraine electricity. So now they're probably going to stop this now because of this recent event. So Hungary was kind of hinting that it could stop its electricity imports if Ukraine doesn't release the sanctions on the pipeline. So very interesting. We got news coming from the EU that apparently the EU will transfer the first batch of frozen Russian assets to purchase weapons for Ukraine at the beginning of August, according to the EU High Representative. The funds will be used to buy priority military equipment, including air defense systems, artillery shells, and other stuff for Ukrainian industry. Now we've got news coming from Austria. So Austria has stated that it will not send military instructors to Ukraine as part of a possible European mission. So this was stated by the Austrian Foreign Minister, Alexander. So very interesting. Now we've got news coming from the Serbian president. So the Serbian president has stated that he said that the Western countries are preparing for war with Russia much faster than many in Moscow think. Until now, Western countries wanted to fight at a distance through someone else, but this approach is changing, he added. So, very concerning statements he stated. So, Let's hope this doesn't happen. Now we're going to go to some Ukraine updates. So James Hecker, the commander of the U.S. Air Force in Europe, stated that Ukraine would not have an air advantage for several weeks after the first F-16s fighters arrived. This will be the first stage of a longer process of Ukraine's transition to Western tactics and equipment. He also stated that Ukraine will shift to Western equipment because the kind of the heart of the Ukrainian army is still Soviet era equipment, Soviet era tanks like T-62 tanks, T-72s, and T-80s. So now the commander of the European Air Force for America is stating that this will shift. We got news that Latvia has sent its shipment to over 500 drones to Ukraine as part of the drone coalition, according to the Latvian defense minister. So 500 Latvian drones are going to Ukraine. We also got news that the Bulgarian Ministry of Defense of Bulgaria has found the excess and unnecessary ammunition, so it will be possible that it will transfer some of this to Ukraine. So possibilities that Bulgaria will send some ammunition to Ukraine. We've got news coming from somewhere in Russia. If you can see here, that a big line of BMP-3s, infantry fighting vehicles, it's on its way to Ukraine, the front line of Ukraine. So Russia is not running out of Soviet equipment anytime soon, it seems. Now we're going to go to Moscow. So this is probably the biggest news today. So the Iranian minister, Polem Javad, has announced that Moscow and Tehran has reached a strategic agreement on Russian gas exports to Iran. So this deal, Iran may start receiving vast quantities of Russian natural gas, probably up to 300 million cubic meters per day, or nearly 110 billion cubic meters per year, which is approximately 45% of Iran's current gas consumption and roughly equals the maximum output of the now Nord Stream 1 and 2 natural gas pipelines. So the project is also going to involve the construction of a natural gas pipeline across Iran from the north to the south, with an annual revenue of this venture being estimated at about $10 to $12 billion, the Iranian news agency IRNA reported. So we can expect a Russian and Iranian pipeline. So we don't know if it's going to go across the sea or maybe through Azerbaijan from Iran, but it could possibly go through the Caspian Sea, just like this, like so. But very interesting news. So huge trade agreement has apparently been signed between Iran and Russia. And that's not the only news that's coming from the Caspian Sea and Iran and Russia. So Russia and Iran have actually held joint naval drills to strengthen the regional's cooperation. So they did a bit of a naval exercise in the Caspian Sea. So if you can see these videos, quite a bit of ships were used in this. So very interesting. The next news is coming from India. So from this city right here. So the Indian Navy guided missile frigate F-31 Bangputra caught fire and flipped on its side while undergoing repairs at a shipyard in Mumbai. So as a result, a serious fire on the lead frigate of the series. One of the sailors is missing and the ship itself has not been brought back to normal. So if you can see here on your bottom left corner, it seems it's tipped to its left and completely flipped, and apparently a big fire came on board and one sailor is apparently missing. So, very tragic. Now we're going to go to the Chinese coast, more specifically this coast here. So if you can see here, China conducted a drone show in China with a call to join the army. So the images of the Chinese military equipment and aircraft carriers and planes and tanks and missiles launchers were displayed in the skies over here. So very interesting. And one thing I just thought I would add. So this was pretty interesting news I found. So this is a Chinese unmanned taxi. So if you can see here, these two people putting like this code on the window, and it opens up the car and it drives them to this destination. So pretty weird stuff has been happening in China. So unmanned taxi Chinese vehicles. So very interesting. And the next news coming today is that from one more from the US, apparently Joe Biden has transferred his power on supporting Ukraine to the head of the US Treasury and the State Department. And the next news is coming from the Belgorod region or city. So if we see here in your bottom left corner, so according to the FSB statements and the video, the FSB has released a video featuring individuals who planned to set fire to a mosque in Belgorod. So, under the direction of a Ukrainian intelligence services. One of them stated that the crime was to incite conflict between Muslims and Christians in Russia. So very interesting. The FSB stated all of that. So very interesting. But that's all the news I have for you today. I am Non-Scene News. I'll try and provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. I do these videos hopefully daily, so consider joining as a member or donating through YouTube if you want to help me personally. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I see all of you later. Bye.